A woman hiked up her skirt to her waist and extended her left arm straight out. A man stopped for her, and she welcomed her first client. The boss took the money Annie earned but only gave her a small portion. Annie's eyes brimmed with tears as she burned the cash, her former innocence crumbling to ashes. From that moment on, the queen began her rise to power. Annie mechanically primped and dolled herself up day after day, using her figure to entice every man in town. Within less than a year, Annie had become the establishment star attraction. She generously shared all her tips with her fellow sisters because she understood that to achieve great things, one must first win people's hearts. Just then, the boss appeared, urging the girls to get back to work. Annie grabbed her purse and stepped forward, publicly demanding a day off. With a laugh, she pushed her sisters out too. The boss could only glare at her menacingly, not daring to utter a word because Annie was the ace, capable of bringing in huge profits. However, the boss had been harboring a grudge. The arrival of a strange customer presented an opportunity for revenge. The boss woke Annie from her slumber and ordered her to entertain the client. As Annie prepared to follow the usual routine, the man placed a wad of cash on the table, along with a handgun. He enjoyed inflicting violence on young girls. Annie's screams jolted the other girls awake. The boss made a show of knocking on the door but turned around and scolded the others, telling them to leave. When Annie emerged, the boss feigned deep concern, telling her that there was no way around it in the service industry. Annie nodded blankly, but inside, she vowed to seek revenge. Annie pulled back her black veil, revealing a scar stretching from her shoulder to her hip. The mob boss put down the phone he had been dialing because the scar was the handiwork of his underlings. He asked Annie what compensation she desired, but she declined his offer. Instead, she handed him a peace knot and turned to leave. The boss understood her meaning. She only wanted to find peace. He immediately arranged for his men to protect Annie around the clock. With the backing of a powerful brother, Annie didn't do anything outrageous. She waited for an opportunity to establish her authority. When the same man from before came looking for Annie again, she resolutely entered the room and calmly closed the door. Suddenly, the roar of a car engine could be heard outside. The boss arrived on the scene and ordered his men to apprehend the man. They subdued him, and Annie stepped on him in front of everyone. By this point, even the former boss was terrified of Annie. He was so overwhelmed with fear that he literally scared himself to death. As expected, Annie took over as the new boss, managing all the affairs. From then on, the 20-something Annie became a prominent figure in the local community. Luxury cars chauffeured her everywhere she went, strolling down the familiar streets with a parasol in hand. Annie had even bigger plans. She intended to run for district mayor with the goal of ensuring that local women would be treated with respect.